I want to take a moment to remember the life of Larry Kramer, a writer and playwright who became a hero in the fight against HIV/AIDS. Kramer died today at the age of 84. When gay men began dying of what was then referred to as a mysterious gay cancer in 1981, Larry Kramer was one of the first to take notice and take action. He was a founder of GMHC, Gay Men's Health Crisis, which took care of those who were being discriminated against, kicked out of their jobs, their homes, treated poorly in hospitals. The organization still exists today. They were HIV positive or had AIDS, and they were treated terribly for it, and GMHC worked to try to help them. Larry went on to help form ACT UP, which demonstrated and demanded funding and changes in drug trials to speed up treatments. Larry Kramer dedicated his life to the fight against HIV/AIDS and the bigotry and indifference and murderous silence that surrounded it. At times, he was a voice screaming seemingly alone in the wilderness, but he was right more than he was wrong, and he forced others to take notice. Other gay people, other straight people, politicians and scientists and doctors. He wasn't easy. He alienated people who didn't want to hear what he had to say or how he said it, but he was relentless and righteous. In 1983, Larry wrote an essay in The Advocate calling on gay men to wake up and work together to help find a cure. If this article doesn't rouse you to anger, fury, rage, and action, gay men may have no future on this earth, he wrote. Our continued existence depends on just how angry you can get. How many of us must die, he asked, before all of us living fight back? Years later, he was in a meeting of ACT UP trying to get other activists to stop fighting each other and focus on fighting the bigotry and ignorance and silence which was killing so many gay people. Take a look. This is classic Larry Kramer.
Plague! We are in the middle of a plague, and you behave like this. Plague! 40 million infected people is a plague. We are in the worst shape we have ever been in. All those pills we're shoveling down our throats, forget it. ACT UP has been taken over by a lunatic fringe. They can't get together. Nobody agrees with anything. All we can do is field a couple of hundred people at a demonstration. That's not going to make anybody pay attention. Not until we get millions out there. We can't do that. All we do is pick at each other and yell at each other. And I say to you in year 10, the same thing I said to you in 1981 when there were 41 cases. Until we get our acts together, all of us, we are as good as dead.
Those words ring true today in this moment we're now facing. That, by the way, that video is from How to Survive a Plague, an extraordinary documentary I urge you to watch. What Larry Kramer and other HIV activists did saved countless lives, and it's helped every human being on Earth because they actually managed to change the approval process for new treatments and got the medical establishment to allow patients more of a voice in clinical trials. Activists did that, not just for HIV, but for other drugs being worked on today. Dr. Anthony Fauci, who faced the wrath and the respect of Larry Kramer, once said there are two eras in American medicine, one before Larry and one after Larry Kramer. Larry Kramer once called me a useless homosexual. I'd never met him, but it really hurt because I admired him so much. A short time after he said it, I went to see a play that he'd written, and he heard I was coming, and he waited after the performance to see me. He came up to me. I expected him to yell at me, but he shook my hand and smiled shyly and said, "I've said some terrible things about you, Anderson." And I said, "I know, Larry, but that's okay, and I want to thank you." 32 million people around the world have died of AIDS. So far, there's no vaccine yet, but there is incredibly effective treatment for those who can get it and prevention. And Larry Kramer played a big part in that. You may not have heard of him or liked him if you did, but to me, he's a hero, and now he's gone.